Good morning. Welcome to First Christian Church. We have just a few announcements to share with you today. This Wednesday, we'll be getting together for our midweek Bible studies for all ages. We call this Family Ties. Supper is at 6 p.m. in the fellowship hall. Everyone is invited. Suggested donation for the meal is $2 per person or $5 per family. On the menu this week, pizza. We will be holding our annual Labor Day weekend indoor rummage sale on Friday and Saturday. If you have any items that you'd like to donate, please take them to the Solid Rock Cafe. The back doors will be open from 3 to 5:30 Monday through Wednesday of this week. Then, everyone is welcome to come shop this weekend. The FCC Childcare is holding a pizza fundraiser to help raise funds for new carpet in 3 of the childcare rooms. Cost is only $10 for a 16-inch pizza, and you can have your choice of pepperoni, sausage, or cheese. Orders will be taken between now and Wednesday the 30th. Pizzas will be ready on September 4th. See Rose Craig or any of the childcare ministry employees to order your pizza. On Sunday, September 10th, we'll be holding a 3-part mini conference called Reliance. Everyone is welcome to attend at 9:45 in the fellowship hall. We will be talking about the very real struggles people experience with depression and explore answers in coping and how we can help others. For all seniors ages 55 and up, there will be a special event at Camp Allendale on Tuesday, September 12th. The Fall Teenagers Gathering is only $5 each, and you'll be able to enjoy special music, lunch, speakers, and more. Sign up in the foyer. On Sunday, September 17th, we will celebrate Back to Church Sunday. We're looking forward to a special service and a breakfast for everyone at 9:45. Be thinking of who you would like to invite. There are more announcements in your bulletin, and don't forget that we keep the church website, Facebook page, and Twitter filled with the latest and greatest happenings here at First Christian Church. That's it for our announcements this week. Have a great day.
Dad, camera, put it down. You cannot take a picture with the top of your head. Dad, that's not helping. Can you smell that out? Can you not wait 5 minutes?
Oh, hey, if you're going in there, you're gonna want that. Love you.
All right, take the picture there. Look as pitiful as you can.
Oh my God, Mom, this is embarrassing.
Take the shot. If
This
you'll
is
hurry
embarrassing.
in the picture, just do
It's
it. Don't
hot.
worry about that.
It is hot.
Babe, please.
I want pizza.
We're not having pizza. I'll give you ice cream if you try.
It doesn't matter if it's
Well, you don't even know.
It's
You
gonna
haven't
taste
tried.
bad. Well, it does.
You'll see it tastes good.
All done clean the house down.
Thank you, Kayla.
Well, we want pizza.
Well, we're not having pizza.
Why? Well,
Everything isn't as it appears on Facebook, but definitely an interesting point that's trying to be made here is how many times do we just feel like we are not enough? You know, we get frustrated. We've had a day or a time in our life where it just seems nothing goes right. And at the end of the day or at the end of the period, you're just absolutely spent, emotionally, physically, spiritually. There's just times we just don't feel like we're good enough. We may even feel like everything we touch and everything we're a part of is simply broke. Well, I have good news for you and bad news for you. The good news is the fact that everything isn't broke. With that being said, the things that are broken in your life may not be your fault. You are not a failure. Look at God. God created a perfect world. But the sin cycle destroyed his perfect world. In midst of crisis and chaos, God still gives us hope. I want to talk a little bit about this idea of how God created this world and why he created it to be perfect. During our preschool time, I have some Bible time that I talk to the kids. The last couple of weeks, or the first couple of weeks, we've been talking about creation. And Thursday this week, we went out to the prayer garden that's downstairs, and I showed the kids, I said, kids, tell me about creation. And we went through each day, because that's what they've been learning. You see the first day. First day, God created light and darkness. Is a light outside? Yes. And then we went on, each and every one. Do you see water? Do you see fish? Because we have the fish out there. Do you see any other animals? We had some statues of that. Just asking them, what did they see? And in studying that, and studying for this week, we see in Genesis that God leaves everything to be perfect. It's all right. In Genesis 1:31, we end the first chapter of the Bible by saying, God saw that he had made, and it was very good. Evening came, and then morning, and then the sixth day. Everything looks good. Everything sounds good. God was pleased with everything he created. He didn't consider the creation good enough. No, he saw that it was very good. God wasn't complete with this attitude of, well, it will do for now. No, he saw it, and he saw that it was very good. Maybe in the Anthony Sweeney version, I can say, he might have said this, it can't get better than this. This is perfect. I don't know how many of you are gifted and talented. Being on Facebook, I see all these people who are gifted on Facebook. You know, my husband made this, or I made that, and they made this amazing thing. You're thinking in the back of your head, I wish I could do that. Well, my dad was a carpenter, just kind of a backyard carpenter. He learned a lot from his dad and so on and so forth. He tried to teach me, failed miserably, but anyway, he was a carpenter. And I remember when he would have this project, he would get a game plan together. He put this building plan together. He then would take all the measurements, make sure that he was going to make everything appropriately. He would go to the hardware store and get all the things that he needed, all the materials that he needed, and he would follow the building plan that he had created. When everything seemed like it was done, everything, all of the things that we handed him, everything looked good, he would take a step back and he would see it as a whole. And he would do that for a couple reasons. He wanted to make sure that if there was anything wrong, he could fix it. If it was leaning one direction more than the other, he could fix it. If it just wasn't stable enough, he could fix it. And when it was good, it passed the eye test. You see, God was our creator. He treated it like a carpenter project. He had a plan, he had the resources, he had the materials. Matter of fact, he just spoke and it came into existence. But it had to pass the eye test. And as he took a step back, and at the end of Genesis 1, he says, everything's good. It doesn't get better than this. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine a perfect world? A world with no pain, a world with no sickness, a world without disease, discomfort, a world that wouldn't know hunger, a world that doesn't know anything about injustice, and a world that didn't know death. That's exactly how God created our earth to be. That was his intention. The universe would operate exactly as God had planned. What for us may just be a figment of imagination, for God it was his original plan, his original intent. Creation would be perfect because it was made by a perfect creator. This perfect world was only perfect until something went wrong. And God gives us the freedom of choice. Because he gives us the freedom of choice, we can choose to do right or to do wrong. So what went wrong? Well, we see Genesis 3 verse 1, and this is a crisis. We're at a crisis point in this passage because evil is introduced. And the first question ever asked that's recorded in the Bible is in this verse. It says this, now the serpent was most cunning of all the wild animals that the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, did God really say you can't eat from any tree in the garden? We're introduced to the snake, the serpent, Satan himself. And if you've ever had the feeling that the world just isn't quite right, you'd be absolutely correct, because it isn't quite right. Genesis 3 tells us. But it's in this passage that God gives us a front row seat to see the evil that has entered into human experience. Now, there's a challenge here. God's commands were simple. He told Adam and Eve, live. I think we can handle that, right? He said, live, reproduce, have children. But there's one thing you can't do. Hang out with the animals, hang out with all this. But there's one thing you can't do. You cannot eat at the tree in the middle. Can't eat it. It's the only thing I ask. And this reminds us that God's commands are direct. They're simple. The greatest challenge isn't understanding God's commands. It's obeying them. But evil enters in. And evil is personal. Just as good is personal. Now, where does good come from? As Christians, we say that good comes from God. It comes from our personal relationship with God, knowing what's right, knowing what's good. But if there's good in the world, then there has to be evil. There has to be the opposite of good. And that's where Satan comes in. Satan's very crafty. The Bible says the very first words about Satan is that he's cunning. He's crafty. And all he does in this temptation of Eve is give her a question. Did God really say that? Is God really hiding something from you? Does he really trust you? Do you really trust him? And that's all it needed. It just needed that little bit of doubt in the mind of Eve for her to consider disobeying God. And it would start with that action of disobedience, and it would ruin the perfect world. I want you to think back, and maybe this has been recently for some, maybe it's been a long time for others, but when you moved into your home, I know when Christy and I moved into our home, we saw the house right after they had the home inspection, and everything was good. Touring the house, paint was painted, the carpets were clean, everything looked amazing, except for the pool. But anyway, everything else looked, the pool looked like a cesspool, but anyway, everything else looked good, right? And we moved in, and the day we moved in this house that we had seen, that everything was working order, everything passed the homeowner inspection and all this and that, guess what? The AC quit. The first day we walked into the house and it was ours, the AC didn't work. And you know, the 9 years that we've had that place, we've had to replace a lot of things. Why? Because though it may have started with all this inspection going well, things don't last. You have to replace a garage door opener. You have to replace a pool. You have to replace a deck. You have to replace carpet. You have to paint the house and so on and so forth just to keep up with it. And even if you're one of those people that do an amazing job keeping up with the house, you still have to do it because it's lived in. Was once a perfect house that was built perfectly. Is now a house that's lived in. So it has its flaws. That's the way God prepared this world. It was great. It was good. But these little things started going wrong. You had to fix it. Now, why did they go wrong? Well, as I said, when you have a home, it's age. Age hurts a home. And you start to replace all these things because they've lived up to what they could do. And they can't work. They don't work anymore. For God's world, it's been sin. And there's a cycle with sin. As we know, Adam and Eve's story, we know it very well. It's called the original sin, but it hits a cycle of what happened. Eve gives in. She eats of the fruit. You see, there was the temptation. When the crafty Satan, when he said, "Did God really say that?" He was tempting. That's the first part of the sin cycle. We're tempted. Now Satan doesn't always tempt the same way twice. As a matter of fact, he likes to mix it up a little bit. And with Eve, he debates with her, he negotiates with her, he finagles with her until she finally gives in. But then it comes to Adam. She was thinking things through. She was trying to have the rationale. But when it comes to Adam, all Eve had to say, "Hey, you want some fruit?" It's from the middle of the tree. And Adam didn't even think. He just took a bite. It took very little convincing. Adam acted out of impulse. And how many times do we get ourselves in trouble when we act out of impulse? The same thing happened with Adam. It was an instant compromise. Even though he knew it was wrong, just because Eve had done it, he was going to do it himself. So as we see, there's different people. Different people handle different things. We have Eve, who had to be convinced to sin. The temptation took a little bit more work. Where we have Adam, who, let's just be honest, he was a pushover. All he had to do was say, "Hey, everybody else is doing it. Okay, then I'll do it." He was a pushover. But the temptation was there. When the temptation was there, we have a choice. This happens to us. We're tempted to do something wrong. We know it's wrong. There's no debate about that. But that temptation is there. And sometimes we act out of impulse. We just do it. And that's wrong, and we have to pay the consequences. Sometimes we have to be convinced. We have to be convinced that this is something we need to do. We try to rationalize it. But when that act of disobedience happens, is when we see the temptation and we decide to follow through with it. Disobedience to God is disobedience, regardless of the details, regardless of the laws. And it is what it is. It destroys it. In terms of sin, sin is sin. When you sin, you're guilty. We all have sinned. Now, are all sins equal? I have to say, no. They're all sin. That's what the Bible says. Sin is sin. They're all sin in God's eyes. That's not saying that they're all equal. Now, there's not a ranking system, but that's not saying it's all equal, because different sin has different consequences. Understand, the sin of gossip can destroy a reputation. Or the sin of murder destroys a life. You see, the consequences are different. And you are responsible for those consequences. The beautiful thing about God is we make those decisions, but He doesn't take the consequence away from us. Therefore, all sin are the same. In the terms that it's sin, and it's opposite of God's will. But there are worse outcomes for different sins that you do. You know, if you're getting ready to go out to dinner and your wife comes in, she says, "Does this outfit look nice on me?" And what is your answer? I have never seen anything so beautiful. That's your answer. Just if you don't believe me, try it and see what happens. Now, even if she looks ridiculous, that is your answer. That may not be true, but that is your answer. And that is a lie. But there's consequences to telling the truth sometimes too. When you tell a lie, now you have to pay with consequences, because if she finds out that she does look ridiculous because her meets up with a girlfriend, and the girlfriend's like, "He let you out of the house," something like that, then you're in trouble. You're in trouble. But you can soothe it over. She knows you're coming from a good place and all that. It's still a sin. You still have to face the consequences. But on the other hand, if you leave here and you rob CVS, you're going to jail. This isn't, "I'm sorry, I didn't really mean to put that thing in my pocket and walk out with it." That's not how it works. There are different consequences. There are different outcomes. So, temptation. Then we do the act of disobedience. And the final part of the sin cycle we find in Genesis 3, 10 through 13. "And he said, 'I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid.' Then he asked, 'Who told you that you were naked? Did you eat from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?' The man said, 'The woman you gave to be with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate.' So the Lord asked the woman, 'With this, what have you done?' She said, 'It was the serpent. He deceived me, and I ate.'" So what's the third part? Ask a child who started the fight. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to blame the other one. Guess what Adam did? When God called him out, he said it was Eve's fault. Really faithful little guy, right? Then when Eve was asked, and she was called out for disobeying God, well, it's the serpent's fault. And how many times do we mess up? Or we are guilty of disobeying God, but when we are called out on it, what do? We blame somebody else. Why? Because we're not taking the responsibility of our actions. You see, Adam and Eve's problem with evil, with sin, has affected us all. This isn't just me talking about the first sin that was committed. This chapter highlights the failure of the entire human race. From that point forward, we will mess up. And it's a trait that's been passed on from generation to generation. Thank you, Adam and Eve, for that. But now we struggle with sin. We still struggle with sin. Thousands and thousands and thousands of years later, we still struggle with sin. To give you an idea of what we do and what we allow sin to do, do you know the largest man-made object was in 2001? In old history books, it will say the Great Wall of China. And even though I haven't been there, it is an amazing thing. But in 2001, it was surpassed. You know what surpassed the Great Wall of China, this amazing thing? Fresh Kills landfill in Staten Island. It closed in 2001. But at the time of its closure, it was the largest man-made object in the world. It received, see if you can imagine this, 29,000 tons of garbage daily. For those of you who are really quick with math, that's 58 million pounds. Is that amazing? That much garbage daily? But if you think about it, if we're left to our own vices, the largest man-made accomplishment on this earth was nothing but a pile of garbage. Good job. The point is clear. Without God, the human race, we're just a mess. What is more is we've made a mess of our own lives. Because of the consequence, because of the sin that I have committed, we made a mess of our own life. And the truth in Genesis 3 still lingers today. We still struggle with it. We struggle with our weaknesses. I perform many job interviews, and it seems like almost everyone will ask what your weakness would be. And I've been asked that myself when I was the person looking for a job. What is your greatest weakness? You know what both the biggest answer is? I don't think I have any. I believe that. We don't like to talk about it. I can tell you one of my greatest weaknesses is patience. I think a lot of us can say that. I hate waiting. I hate waiting on anything. I'm impatient. And it's a struggle. Because if I'm waiting on someone, sometimes I get a little flustered. Sometimes I say things I shouldn't say. All because I'm not patient. Sometimes I'm impulsive. Just like with Adam. It goes back to the fact that I'm just not patient. Sin for all of us is our obvious weakness. Since the beginning of sin, sin has corrupted and messed up this world. It has affected and infected every area of life, and it does the same thing for us. Sin introduced death into this world because there had to be consequence to sin. And anyone who has ever dealt with death of a loved one, it's tough, it's hard, it's challenging. And it kind of has that feel that's unnatural because it is unnatural. It's not what God had intended. But we settle for disobedience. We have the irreversible consequence of death. But there's hope. In the middle of this devastation, this depression, there's hope. Because where God knew what Adam and Eve had done, but what did he do? He went and looked for them. And he confronted them. And Adam's answer was, I was afraid. I was afraid. It had to devastate God. They would walk, in the evening of the day, they would walk together. This was very much a father-son relationship. The creation looked at God, Adam, and said, I was hiding because I was afraid. Sin will lead to us avoiding God. Now, when we face fear, we have three typical responses. The first one is we run away. We just run away from it. I can tell you how many times people have a fear that they're facing, they're just done. They run away from it. And quite frankly, it's easier to do that. It's easy to run away from sin and not have to face the consequences. Sometimes we fight. God wants us to do something that's not what we want to do, so we fight it. We wrestle with it. We do everything we can not to give in. And sometimes, just like with Adam and Eve, we hide. We admit that the problem won't go away, so we go away. We're consumed with the fear of being found disobedient, being found responsible. Adam and Eve hid from God, hoping to avoid his gaze. That's what they did. They hid from God. How are you avoiding God? What tactic are you using? Are you running from him? You know God is laying something in your heart and you're just running away from it? Are you wrestling with God for ultimate control of your life? You want to call the shots? You don't like this business of following him. Or are you just hiding? Whatever the tactic may be, God's presence is clear. It's a clear message. He is not going to leave you. Now there's consequences. In Genesis 3:16 through 19, we read the consequences. He said to the woman, I will intensify your labor, and you will bear children in anguish. Your desire will be for your husband, yet he will dominate you. And he said to Adam, because you listened to your wife's voice and ate from the tree of which I commanded you, do not eat from it. The ground is cursed because of you, and you will eat from it by means of painful labor all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. You will eat the bread by the sweat of your brow until you return to the ground, since you were taken from it. For you are dust, and you will return to dust. That was their consequence. They blamed other people. They were guilty of the act that they did, and they had to pay the consequences, and God gave them the consequences. If you take a look at it as merely a punishment, I think you're looking at it in the wrong light. It was just the consequences. You have consequences to your bad decisions. You have consequences to your sins today. And those are consequences that we have to live with. What temptation is just killing you right now? It's just so intense that you just want to give in. Is this temptation things you have given into and now you're just making excuses for why you did it? Or is it something you're taking responsibility for? Where are you with God? You're being tempted by Satan and just pursuing him? Or you're just going to stop making excuses and begin pursuing God? As the musicians prepare for the final song, everything is not broken. It may feel that way, but everything is not broken. If it's broken, it doesn't necessarily mean it's your fault. You're not a failure. God created a perfect world. And the sin cycle, temptation, disobedience, and blame ruined it. But in the middle of all that, God is still looking for you. God still wants you. I want to leave you with a letter and a little conversation that Dr. Billy Graham, Reverend Billy Graham, received. And he received this. It says this: I believe the most important thing we can do in our life is to develop our inner potential. I don't see why Christians tear people down by telling them they're sinful and worthless. You ought to encourage them instead to look from within themselves and strive to reach their full potential. Reverend Graham's response was this: I'm sorry if you've got the impression that Christians believe that we are worthless. Because the opposite is the case. Instead, we are so valuable, what we talked about last week, priceless in God's eyes, that he sent his Son to the world to give his life for our salvation. Would he have done that for somebody that was worthless? At the same time, we'll never become people God wants us to be, only looking within ourselves. We do that. We ignore God, and we think we can solve all the problems on our own. We become centered instead only on ourselves, and we put ourselves in place of God. We end up denying our weakness, our selfish motives. We have no real answer for the feeling of guilt and failure. He finishes it with this: most of all, looking only within ourselves means we overlook our greatest need, to be reconciled to God. Nothing is greater than reaching God's potential for your life. What is that? When God created the world, he created the world with potential, and it was perfect. When God created you, he created you with potential. And somewhere along the line, he allowed the sin cycle to destroy that. What is God laying on your heart to pursue? You may look around and think everything's broken. Everything's not broken. God has a plan for you. He wants you to pursue it. And don't allow the sins in your life to destroy your life. If anyone has a decision to make today, whether it's to accept Christ your personal Lord and Savior, whether it's to become a part of a church here, family here at First Christian, or if you just need prayer, this is your time to make that decision. Pray where you are. Pray with a friend. Spend your time worshiping God. Let's stand.